spent a lot of time on the Smith breakfast table, and for good reason. But does the Smith family really strike you as the kind of family that gets up at the same time to have breakfast together and prepare this kind of spread? Which part of any of these non-Jerry people is the part that's like, ooh, can't miss the good old family breakfast tradition? My inherent love for sentimentality and routine will not be denied. Also, if you're making a breakfast that has pancakes, toast, and what looks like mashed potatoes with rice sprinkled on top of it, but I'm hoping is grits, then you do not need all these what I'm graciously going to call hash browns. I trust no one in this room because not a single one of them is drinking coffee. And this isn't caffeine moderation shaming. What's going on here is a statistical impossibility. To those who rushed out and grabbed the Yasica Insta handles, all I have to say is that your commitment to mimicry and parody of this character has been underwhelming. This sin is on your hands.
Hi, I've placed an auto-response chip in my brain so I can spend time with my family.
What kind of lousy auto-response chip responds by declaring it's an auto-response chip? A terrible auto-response chip, that's what.
I need death crystals from Forbodulon Prime.
Show will never explain what makes the death crystals from Forbodulon Prime better than any other death crystals. And if you're going to say they only exist on Forbodulon Prime, then we never find out why Rick, who cares about nothing, cared about name-dropping this planet.
Dad, you hardly put any syrup on.
Honey, stop raising your father's cholesterol so you can take a hot funeral selfie.
But isn't Summer's logic a bit off here? She just said that the reason funeral selfies are hot is that grief reddens the cheeks, but who's grieving at Jerry's funeral?
Why are they called death crystals? Do they kill you?
You're thinking of bullets, Morty.
While bullets are technically crystalline solids, this punchline probably should have been reserved for jokes about death metal.
Death crystals show you how you're gonna die.
Then I hereby submit they should be called cause of death crystals. Also, Expirite was right there. The contrived nature of these rocks is immediately forgiven because of how much thought went into coming up with and animating all the amazing possible Morty deaths in this episode.
People that spend their life avoiding death are already dead.
And what's dead may never die. So what, are people that spend their dead lives living death quantum entangled? See, I can sci-fi up some random too. The idea of using the Expirite as some sort of morbidity divining rod is interesting and all, but no, I'm not buying it. Even if you did catch a unified glimpse of your demise, every micro movement would completely change the possible outcome in a way that would render it no longer valid and impossible to recover.
I thought you were masturbating.
You took that in stride?
You'd rather I address it?
It's not so much that I'd rather you did, it's just that it seems pretty in character for you to do, and nothing has stopped you from doing it before.
I'm willing to accept that you're doing this if you're willing to accept that you need to stop.
Title of my sex tape? It appears as if the Smiths collaborated with their next-door neighbor on this fence, since it crosses both yards, and I refuse to believe there's any universe where next-door neighbors get along well enough to accomplish this feat.
Operation Phoenix initiated.
Something, 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 cloning callback, something, something, Rick's pixelated improv the rest is how I'm guessing this scene was written.
But you are down with fascist dystopias, right?
If you have to ask, your question is obviously more about dramatic reveals than your commitment to extremely problematic political ideologies. Sitting on the nasty floor of a school hallway leaning against the lockers, this is your respite? I don't have to be anywhere in the next few minutes. You know where I'm gonna plop down for conversation? Staphylococcus Central, that's where.
Throw that thing in the garbage, stop planning your own death, and talk to whoever you want.
Rick steals the exact words I told my younger siblings about their paper fortune teller. Oh, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, see also Chatterbox, Flipper Flapper, Salt Cellar, Whirlybird, Paku Paku, or Cootie Catcher.
Stop doing meta commentary.
He says meta-commentarially. Being so worried about scientific accuracy that you make space completely silent when you know your audience would rather hear the Nazi Morty choking to death.
Get out of here,
Stop
Morty.
asking
Two Ricks
stupid
are doing
questions,
business.
Morty.
Get the f
Sound
out of
like
here.
a piece of shit.
These Shrimple Ricks yelling at Morty because verbal abuse is fun.
Does your house look like a tree, or? No, it looks like this. It's, like, identical to this, actually.
Rick and Morty hang a lantern on a logical inconsistency, thinking that will somehow keep us from sinning it, as if they've never seen one of our videos before. Come on, just admit you watch TVSins already. Cliche. I'd remove a sin if I could say for sure that this sign meant no flossing, but I can't, so instead I need to write you up for improper signage.
You're bad at math, but I'm giving you an A+ in confidence.
Americans. Wait, isn't that the same student that was sitting on the floor earlier? Are you telling me that wasn't even their locker they were in front of? You sat down and leaned on someone else's locker? Who does that?
Only if the events of the Pixar movie Coco are to be believed, which I doubt.
Coco deniers. I certainly have questions about how or why holograms eat, but the show is of course touching on that just enough to pretend like it actually means something. So instead, I'll ask how this holotech is powered and where it's physically distributed from. The show gets a lot of credit for thinking through its theoretical concepts, but when it comes to technology, it lives firmly on yada yada avenue.
Will you just show me how to stay alive?
Morty is now asking Hollow Rick to help him not die instead of consulting the Death Stone, even though Hollow Rick helping him not die was not presented as an option by the Death Pebble. Show is all over the place when it comes to how committed Morty is to following his new sedimentary god.
Bist du faschistisch?
Nope.
First up, I think this is a very funny recurring gag, which is something I never thought I'd say about fascism. Second, the writers made a teddy bear Rick because, of course, that's funny, but they also made him mortal in the same way a human would be mortal, instead of giving him soft and cuddly innards as we would expect. The commitment to Teddy Rick was less than that of Pickle Rick, who was a pickle all the way through, and that's just unacceptable. Bringing a chain to a horny teenager with a death crystal fight.
Oh, the air's getting thin.
It is not. Sure, I'm enjoying the every Rick, every Mort all at onceness of it all, but how is he able to so quickly identify which path leads to Jessica when up until now he had to take time to zero in on it?
Shield me from the law.
Cool, 2 Meeseeks callbacks in the same episode, but wouldn't these Meeseeks have immediately shielded him from the law, thereby accomplishing their task and consequently disappeared?
Time?
Really? Getting all the sounds correct on the first or second shot? There are 44 different phonetic sounds in English, Morty. 44!
He loves you, little sparrow.
He's innocent. Case dismissed.
The U.S. justice system.
I think we're just about ready to forgive him and move past this whole thing. He's a free young man, and as far as continuity goes, the reset button's been hit.
What the f***? Did you just try to tell the audience that none of what Morty is doing in this episode matters as it relates to the broader storyline? Oh, it matters, and this is not the last time you will be hearing about it. Oh, it's nice to know it's also 2 p.m. in every other universe as well. I was beginning to think this clock was just broken.
We eat our prey alive, and when we don't, we lay our eggs in their eyeballs so that our young can feast on their brains when they hatch.
Nope. Not looking that up. Here's a sin for just making me think about it. So what are these wasp nests for if you furnished a human-type house? And why is there a collectible plate on display if you don't even use plates in the first place? Does no one on this show care about the important things?
Where's my boglin? There you are. Don't worry, Pop-Pop's back.
Goosing the boglin market directly after I sold my 1987 Schlurp for a measly $30.
All that's left are these Kirkland brand Meeseeks boxes.
Kirkland shaming.
Ah, wasp!
It's funny because he can't be stung, but it's also not funny because he's been spouting off all episode about being a hologram, so we know that he knows that 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 excuse me, that he's not able to be stung. And that's only because of all the fourth wall breaking.
I can feel! I have mass!
For reasons! Whoa, that was fast. Dare I say too fast, and only because the episode is ending soon? The runtime should never dictate the rate of pupation.
There's a lesson here, and I'm not the one that's gonna figure it out.
Is it that Rick and Morty will do just about anything to make sure they hit their gratuitous gore quota? Am I close? Okay, fine, I'll take the assignment seriously. The lesson is that as humanity becomes more and more reliant on technology to sustain us, we're also more at risk of those same technologies also killing us. And while it's more likely to be a dispassionate accident, we don't really know what we're doing, and one day maybe it will be malicious. There, not saying I won't do your job for you, but you aren't gonna like my consulting fee.
I don't want to see any more anime stuff.
The comment section when I tried to send My Hero Academia somehow makes it into the episode.
You ruined the season 4 premiere!
It was already ruined from the second you decided to take over 2 years after season 3 to bring us any new Rick and Morty, and you know it.
Who knows not where a wasp does wear his sting?
Morty, would you please accompany me to Forbodulon Prime for death crystals?
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
Aster, good idea, Morty. It'll get us through these asteroids sooner.
Sir, the possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
He wants to give all of our martinis to a family of immigrants.
You don't know how to drink, your whole generation. You drink for the wrong reasons.
That's not an integer!
You, science.
All that's left are these Kirkland brand Meeseeks boxes.
Kenneth Kirkland.
What's with the strut? You think you own this school?
Nope.
No matter what,
You got to strut.
Stop. Those were my husband's last words.
He says?
Tell her she's wearing the shirt that I spilt the margarita on and the earrings I gave her for Christmas.
I guess I gotta learn how to live in the moment a little more.
That's why you always leave a note.